In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to create the chicken pattern that came along with your kit. So first, we are going to start off with the body. So you're going to grab the cream colored yarn that came in your kit and your 4mm crochet hook. We're going to start off with a slip knot. So pull that through, insert your hook, and then we are going to start by creating a magic ring. You're going to chain 4 times. Insert into that very first chain, pull through the chain on your hook. Then you are going to place 8 single crochets into this magic ring. So now that we have 8 single crochets in our magic ring, you're going to take a stitch marker and insert that into the final stitch of your first row. And now for row 2, we are going to be increasing, single crochet increasing in every stitch around. So you'll have 16 stitches at the end of row 2. All right, so at the end of row 2, you're going to replace your stitch marker in that final stitch again. And moving on to row 3, we are going to be alternating between single crochets and single crochet increases in every stitch around, and you're going to have 24 stitches at the end of this row. All right, now we're going to replace our stitch marker and move on to row 4, which is going to be alternating between 2 single crochets and then an increase. So in these first 2 stitches, you are going to be placing 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then in the following, you're going to be placing 2 single crochets for an increase. You're going to alternate that all the way around the row, and at the end of this row, you will have 32 stitches. Place your stitch marker just like normal, and then we are going to continue on to rows 5 through 11, where you're going to be placing 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So that is going to be a total of 7 rows that you are single crocheting 32 stitches. Now that we've reached row 11, this is what your work should look like. Now this is a personal preference, you don't have to do this, but once I get to this point, I like to flip my work inside out. I just find that it's like a smoother finish to it than what you see on the inside. And it's also a bit easier to count your rows and see where you should place your eyes and all that. So now that we've gotten to row 11, we are going to place our safety eyes before we start to decrease and then close. So you're going to place your eyes between rows 8 and 9. So you'll start from the top and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you're going to place them between these 2 rows. So I suggest doing it on the opposite side of where your stitch marker is, just so that you have a smoother finish. You're going to place them approximately 4 stitches apart. Now this is up to your preference, but that's just what I think looks best. So you're going to just pop them between those rows, and then you'll count 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'll place the other one in. Now you can adjust these just based off of how you want it to look. It doesn't really matter where you put them. You're going to put the beak in between, so just make sure that no matter what, there's enough space to sew that in between. And then you're just going to place your stitch markers on the back, and then we'll move on to the next row where we'll begin decreasing. So now that we have our eyes placed, we're going to reinsert our hook. And now for row 12, we are going to place 1 single crochet in each of the first 2 stitches, and then use the next 2 stitches to decrease. So I'll show you what that looks like. 1 and 2. And then for decreasing, you're going to grab the front half of that first stitch, insert into the second, bring it through, and then pull through those 2 loops on your hook. So you're going to repeat that all the way around, 2 single crochets and then a decrease, and you'll have 24 stitches at the end of this row. So now that we've replaced our stitch marker, we're going to move on to row 13, which is going to be similar, but you're just going to do 1 single crochet and then a decrease in the following stitch, alternating all the way around, and you'll have 16 stitches at the end of row 13. All right, so now that we're at the end of row 13, we're going to start to stuff the head. So you're just going to take some of the stuffing that you got in your kit and just kind of push it down to the bottom, what's actually the top of your work. You don't want it to get in the way of your stitches, but you don't want to have to shove all of that in at the end when the hole is too small. So you just want to get that base filled in pretty well without it getting all the way to the top so that you can finish up closing. So now for row 14, we are going to decrease all the way around, and then we will continue to close after that. So now at the end of row 14, you don't need to replace your stitch marker because we're just going to be decreasing for the rest of the work. So now you're just going to finish stuffing the head. Make sure it's nice and full so that it's firm and it's not like bendy or squishy at any points. And then I will show you how to close. Now that the head is stuffed firmly, you are just going to reinsert your crochet hook, tighten around it, and now we are just going to decrease until you don't really have room to move your needle anymore, and then you'll close with an embroidery needle. So once you get to about this point where you just have a small hole left, you're just going to pull through, then you'll snip off some excess, leaving a tail for sewing. We'll just pull this all the way through, tighten it a little bit. Then we're going to grab our embroidery needle that came with your kit, thread that on, and then you're just going to weave it through a couple of times through those outward facing stitches that are left. And then once I've done that, just to make sure that it's nice and secure, I take my embroidery needle and I slip it all the way through to the other side of the work. And then I pull it through, pull it tight. I'll pull the rest through and then snip off the excess. And that's how you make the head.